Hello, thanks for watching this Be Engaged training video. In it, we're going to talk all about some little known form and event features in the system. So these are features that you can find in the events section, in individual events, as well as in the section as a whole, and in the form section, in individual forms, as well as in the section as a whole. In order to do and to see everything we're going to run through in this video, you do need officer access to a group. So if you need officer access to your group, or if you need a group set up for your office or for your club in Be Engaged, feel free to reach out to us at beengaged@binghamton.edu. We're going to start with event features. So we're going to head to our group and then head to the events list. So once you've pulled up a list of all your upcoming events, which is this first option under events, you're going to click the three little dots. These three little dots are home to a bunch of helpful features and options that you can utilize to make Be Engaged more beneficial to you and your group and to integrate it more into your operations. So we're going to run through all the options in this drop down right now. The preview button takes you to the event page that users will see when they go to register for your event. Heading back to the three little dots, the copy link option gives you your event link, which copies automatically by clicking this button, and also gives you your event QR code. If you click it, it'll pull it up in a separate screen. Every event in Be Engaged has a QR code associated with it. This QR code allows users to scan it either with their phone camera or with the Campus Groups app to sign in and check into your events that you've posted in Be Engaged. You can also find your event QR code listed next to your event name under the three little dots. And you can see every single event has a QR code. And every event has the same options under this drop-down, accessible by the three little dots. The check-in attendees button brings you to one of the attendance tracking options. This is the track attendance with a computer option. So it automatically brings you with one click of a button to this screen where you can start finding people and checking them into your events by searching their name or their email. That is the same option that corresponds to when you click track attendance and when you select track attendance with a computer. Except with the three little dots option, you're just clicking two things as opposed to three or four things in order to get to that screen. The estimated number of check-ins option allows you to input the estimated number of people who attended your event. In a perfect world, we'd want every event that happens on campus entered into Be Engaged, and we'd want every event tracked using the system. But we know that's not always feasible, and that is sadly not always the reality of events that happen. So if you come into the system after your event's over or during the event, and you don't have time to check people in one at a time, or X amount of people have already walked through the door, and you just want to give an estimate of how many people you've checked in, and then how many people you expect to also check in, this is where you could input that estimated number of check-ins and click Save when you're done. Duplicating the event copies it and allows you to edit it under the Drafts section. And then post the new event to your group. who can register brings up the access rights option that you can find within the event form under access and display. But again, similar to the check-in attendees option, it's giving you kind of a shortcut to this section and allowing you to see who your event is open to and who exactly can see it. So you can see they have it broken down, whether it's everyone, just users who are logged in, just specific users based on account type, specifically tagged users, group members only, group members and contacts only, some group members, tagged members only, so based on your member tags, tagged members only based on subgroup tags, members only with specific badges, and then officers only. All our events are open to everybody, so we will make sure that's saved. And if we head into the event form, if we go down to access and display, you'll see these same options in front of you that we just saw in that quick shortcut. Download attendees lists gives you the option to download an attendance report where you select the specific fields that show up in that report for your event. And if you show all the fields, you can see exactly what you want, or you can select all and then unselect all and start fresh. And once you've decided exactly what fields you want to show up in your report, so we'll choose first, last name, email, and account type. And we'll choose download. And if you click on the report that just downloaded to your computer, it should open right up in either Excel or the Numbers platform if you're on a Mac. And then you'll have a report of all the people who have registered for your event, if the event hasn't happened yet, or if the event has happened and it's a past event, you'll see all the people who have registered and or checked in. A to-do list is something you can create within each event, setting up items to be assigned out to other people who are helping with the event. So if you click Create To Do, you'll fill out this form. You'll give your item a title, a description. You'll assign it to someone by searching their name or email. You'll give it a due date. You can set the ordering, especially if you have a bunch of to-do items that you're going to create. You can give it an ordering. Give it a type and click Save when you're done. So now you'll be able to see the to-do list item you've created and who it's assigned to, and you can easily assign it to more people if need be, and you'll be able to see when it's due. Heading back into the event, you'll also be able to see visually from this screen if there are to-do list items created and how many have been completed out of the total number of items that are there. The invite button under that allows you to send a targeted email to anyone in your recipients list, whether it's officers, members, or contacts, inviting them specifically to your event. So just by clicking that button, it'll take you into the email builder where you'll be able to choose your recipients And from there, build out an email, whether it's a standard email or a more advanced newsletter, inviting individuals and letting them know about your upcoming event. And the last option on that dropdown is the notes option. So this allows you to add notes to your event that other officers in the group will be able to see and comment on. So once you add your note and click post, if you refresh the page, you'll be able to see the little note notification there, and other officers will be able to see that as well and comment, attach files, react to your note, and so forth. So that's everything under the three little dots, aside from delete, which is pretty straightforward. And once you delete something, it actually doesn't permanently delete. It just ends up in this deleted section. So if you accidentally delete something, it'll end up here and you can easily undelete it. So heading back onto this page, the upcoming events page, we've talked about all the options here. This gear button takes you to the manage page for your event, which is just the back end of your event, which allows you to see who's registered, check people in, add or invite new attendees, track attendance, go to your event page, edit your event in your event creation form, and then the last option when you click into your event is that copy link option, which brings up the event link as well as the event QR code. The next thing we're going to talk about is activating an event's waiting list. So if you click edit to go into the event creation form and you click the registration option on that right-hand menu, you'll see that waiting list activation is off. But if you click edit, it'll bring up this whole form. And there's a specific section dedicated to a waiting list. And just by clicking yes next to allow waiting list, you'll be turning your waiting list on. And you can tell the system how long after a person is removed from the waiting list they have to quote unquote purchase a ticket, which in our system just means register for the event. And this is in hour increments. So for 24 here means 24 hours, so a day. So if you have a big event coming up that you want to open up registration for and be engaged, but you do want to set a limit, you can do that. You can actually do that in the event form outside of here, which I'll show you where to do that. And you can activate a waiting list. So you can allow people to keep registering and they'll just be added to the waiting list after you've hit that maximum number of registrations. So once you've said, yes, you want to allow a waiting list, and you're going to keep this at 24, maybe bump it up to 36 or 48, you'll scroll all the way down and click save. Now you can see that it says it's not activated because we haven't hit that maximum number of people that have registered yet. And just by clicking auto promote, this means that no officer of your group has to be in here monitoring the waiting list. The system will automatically promote people from the waiting list to the main quote unquote pool of attendees or pool of registrants, basically allowing them the time that you've designated to register. In the system, it'll say purchase your ticket, and then they'll be all ready to attend your event. So once you've hit that max number of registrations, that's when your waiting list will become active. And this will say activated. And to set your attendance limit, you'll just set that right here. So the maximum number of attendees. And then tickets limit is just maximum number of tickets per attendee. So maybe you want only one person to quote unquote purchase one ticket. You can do it that way. So we could have, 500 people here and then one ticket per person here. So basically that just means that if someone registers, they're only being allotted one registration slot, which since we're not buying tickets and Be Engaged, that does make the most sense because they're not coming away with anything but their digital ticket, which is just their confirmation of registration. So you'd probably want people to do it for themselves to mitigate confusion. That way everyone will be able to access their ticket in their email after they've registered and their registration has been confirmed. So heading down to the advanced section right underneath registration, the other thing that I want to touch on is co-host this event. So this allows you to choose from any university recognized group or office on campus and choose them as a co-host for your event. So you can see we have it broken down into categories here. SA organizations, fraternities and sororities, GSO organizations, club sports, and so forth. We also have university offices at the very bottom here. So just by checking or unchecking an office or a group, you can add them as a co-host to your event. You can co-host as many groups as are relevant. And then the events will show up in your group, but they'll also show up in the co-hosting group's upcoming events list as well after you click save. So you kind of get the double exposure benefit that your members are seeing your event, the people who are in your group, and then their members are also seeing your event as well since you're co-hosting. And the very last thing on this events list, it's also something I want to draw your attention to, which is just creating an event template. So if you have an event that's a recurring event that you want to save your settings for, so you don't have to reset them again and again and again. So for example, maybe you have specific tags that you use every time. Maybe you have a specific access and display setting you use every single time you create an event. Maybe it's just open to everyone. Maybe it's just specific tagged members, or maybe you have some combination of a bunch of different things for a bunch of different events. So maybe you have, your major events that you have that are open to everyone that happen every semester, but maybe you have officer specific events that also happen every semester. That is where the event template option comes in. And just by setting everything up and Be Engaged and making sure everything's exactly how you want it, and then clicking make this an event template for this group, that second option, and then clicking save, the template will show up when next time you go to create an event. So I'll show you, if I go back to our events list, we have a ton of templates created in this group. So if I click create an event, you can see there's the blank event template, which is just the basic blank form that everyone sees when they go to create an event and Be Engaged. And then I have all of these templates that correspond, each one corresponds to a different training that we offer in Be Engaged. So it just saves the settings, makes life a lot easier, especially if you have a lot of recurring events, like I said, throughout the semester or every year. And just to show you a real world, quote unquote, real world example of what it looks like when someone adds you as a co-host, this group was added as a co-host for this How to Get Involved event. So this is not an event that we created in our group, but it is an event that we're co-hosting. So it showed up just like it's one of our upcoming events, which it is. It showed up in our upcoming events list. So that's how it'll look for you as well. If you're added as a co-host, your group is, or if you add other groups as a co-host. And the last event feature we'll talk about is retroactively adding to events. So events that have passed. So past events have their own section under the events dropdown. And you can see that past events all look like events that are upcoming as well. So the interface is exactly the same. So if I click this event, which is a past event, and I go to this manage page, the back end of the event, it looks exactly the same as our upcoming event did. So if I need to edit information in a past event to make sure that our records are maintained and everything's accurate, I can do that. I can click edit and I can change things up on the event creation form and just click save, and it'll still save and be quote unquote, I don't want to say live, but it'll be listed under that past events section. And you can also retroactively add attendees as well. So this is past events. If I wanted to, after the event was over, if I had a physical list of all the people who attended my event, I can go into Be Engaged, go into my group, click events, past events, and find the event that I can add or invite attendees to. So since the event's over, you'll be adding them and you'll be checking them in. So you can just search for them. It's the same process that you would do normally. And then click also mark them as checked in. And once you click add, they'll show up right in your event. And this is after the event is over. You can see this is past what time it is now, but it still works and it helps you, like I said, keep your records accurate and maintain consistently accurate information even after events are over and even after you've checked everyone in. It might be easier for you to physically check people in on a pen and paper during the event, and then your process might be to add them to Be Engaged after that when you're able to debrief a little bit. If that's your process, then the system can absolutely handle that, and we definitely encourage you to do that. So now we're going to head to the surveys and forms section to talk about some helpful features here and things to know when you're utilizing the surveys and forms features. Similar to how every event has those three little dots that unlock a menu of really helpful features, the same goes for every form in the system. So if you head to the three little dots, a drop-down will appear. And we'll go through each of these like we did with each of the options under the three little dots for every event. So the Manage button takes you to the list of submissions for your form or your survey or your poll. It stands for any type of form or survey you're creating in Be Engaged. Access rights takes you to who the content, the form, is accessible to and where it's live in the system. So you can see the question up here, where should this content be published? So this form is on our group page, and the form itself is open to any Binghamton University user, student, faculty, or staff who's logged in. This section corresponds to another section in the settings option, which is under this drop down that I'll show you when we get there. The copy link option, similar to the copy link option for every event, connects you to the specific link for your form, which by clicking that button, copies it right to your dashboard, and you can paste it, send it off, and it brings you to the form's custom QR code. which if you click it, brings you into another screen. Like every event, every form in Be Engaged also has a custom QR code and link associated with it. So you can access the form or the survey or your election or your poll using this link or scanning this QR code with your phone camera or with the Campus Groups app. Duplicate just creates a copy of the form, which you can see here, marked copy, which you can edit by clicking the edit button, and customize if you need to further develop the original form or change a bunch of things but want to preserve the original copy. And to delete that, that's actually the last option here. So we'll just delete. Click delete, which is the last button. The logics option takes you to any logics that have been set up in the form. So for this form, there are no logics set up, but you can easily create them by clicking the Create Logic button. And you can choose from the different logic types. So there's question-based logic, which takes submitters from one question to the next based on their answer to those questions. There's page-based logics, which takes a person from one page to the next based on their response to specific questions. There's submission tag-based logics. You can actually see the form changes if you choose the different kinds of logics. So we talked about page, question page, submission tag assigns a tag to an answer or a submission record based on a submitter's response and based on their choosing a specific option. Submitter tag adds a tag to the person within your group and within that surveys and forms section based on their answers to specific questions. And then workflow logic nests your survey or your form under a specific workflow, which will trigger approvals if need be. So the most common use for the workflow logic is in approval processes. And we have a bunch of training videos about setting up all of these logics. We have a training video for each logic type. And we have a training video all about setting up a workflow, all on our Be Engaged Training Hub on our YouTube channel. So I highly encourage you to check that out. Heading back to surveys and forms, if we go to those three little dots again, the next option is to send your survey. So if you click Send Survey, it's actually going to take you into the email builder, which, similar to how it was in the events section, allows you to choose who your recipients are and then compose your email and send a targeted email to people who you want to fill out your form right from the surveys and forms page. So again, it's very similar and mirrors, a lot of these options mirror exactly what we just went through under events, just with a bit of a different functionality because we're talking about forms as opposed to events. So under Send Survey is Settings. And the settings section is arguably the most important section of any form, just because you're creating the parameters for how your form is going to function. So the basic information here, you have your author, so it's the person who created the form, the name, the type, a short description, and a custom confirmation message after they click Submit. And you also have specific settings based on approvals and workflows, admin-only settings, and quiz configurations if you're using the quiz feature within this section. And after you're done in any of these sections, you have to click Save in order to preserve any changes you've made. The instructions section allows you to set a closing sentence and a message displayed on the submission confirmation page. The open close cap section allows you to decide if your survey will remain open or closed depending on the date, and then when your survey will open. So you can actually set the date and set the time for when it'll open and when it will close. And you can set a cap for how many submissions you want to receive as well, or just leave that blank if you don't have a cap. Access rights of all of these sections, access rights is definitely the most important because this is telling the system exactly how to allow people to submit the form. So is login required? Does someone need to log in to be engaged to fill the form out? Are the answers anonymous? So these two, obviously, if someone is required to log in, you cannot have the answers be anonymous because every record of a submission would be associated with a user. Can they edit the form? Can they submit the form multiple times? Who has access to the form and its submissions of the officers listed on your group? And then this privacy section, this access rights option here, probably looks familiar because it's the same options in the same section that we saw when we clicked, let me X out of here, when we clicked access rights. It's actually the same exact section, the same options. It's just less clicks to get there. So it's a lot easier if you want to change the way your form is functioning and who it's accessible to change it right here, as opposed to going into settings, clicking access rights, clicking privacy, and then changing it. So it's one click as opposed to like 3 clicks. Notifications actually sends you email notifications, you or other people you specifically put into these boxes. It sends you notifications based on what's happening. So if someone's submitting a form, or if something's approved or denied or put on hold, which is part of the functionality of this feature, is you can approve or deny forms. You can decide on tagged settings, and you can set custom messaging when something's approved, denied, or put on hold. And if you don't want something approved, or if you don't want to even see that functionality, because by default, the system will serve you the interface that has the approval box, you can turn that off right here. So if you want to hide the approval box, just click yes or no if you want to keep seeing it. The field binding option allows you to link binding types to your different surveys or forms. So we'll click save. And the last thing on here is the ability to archive your form. So maybe you've set up a form and it's just for the fall semester, or maybe it's just for the spring. After you're done, you'll head in here, scroll down, and click archive. And then all the archived forms can actually be viewed if you click this first filter and you click archived. You can see other forms we've archived in the past. And the one we just archived here, we can actually unarchive it and bring it back to active. And there it is, right on our main surveys and forms page. So next to the form, you'll see a little arrow, which is the preview button, which takes you to the form itself and how users will be able to fill it out, what it'll look like when they go and fill it out. And you have some options up here. As an officer, you can go right into editing it. If you spot something when you're previewing it that you don't like, you can click edit and go right into editing it. You can bring up the copy link and QR code pop-up. And manage will bring you into the form submissions. And then the last thing here in this little section is just the edit button, which brings you to the surveys and forms builder. So if we click on a form, you can see we have the ability to preview answers for the form. So this is what it looks like when a form doesn't have the approval box, and I'll show you what it looks like when it does after this. But you can preview answers. You can see how people responded to your questions. For each person, that's there. And you can actually, you have the same option with this little preview button. If you click this, you can actually have kind of a copy, quote unquote, of what they've submitted. And this button allows you to archive a response. And you have some more options here. So by clicking this option, you can directly message the person who submitted the form. You can also open the form as a PDF, which just means it'll download to your computer. And then you can open it really quickly. So then you have a copy of it for your records if you need it. And then you can also add notes to responses as well and delete responses too. So like I said, this is a screen that doesn't have those options to approve, deny, put on hold. But if we go to another one of our forms, you can see we have options here to approve, require modifications, put something on hold, or reject a form. So we still have those same preview answer options, but we have the additional little approval box here where you can also add notes. So you can see all of these that we have here. And if we go back into our submission pool here, you can generate a report from all of your responses you can select all. So we'll select the first 20 instead of all 86. And if we click generate report, the system will quickly generate a report for us, which we can open. And you can see the people who submitted, first and last name, email, account type, when they started it and when they submitted it, any tags associated with their responses, and then their responses here. So this gives you a really good rundown all at once of what responses were to your different questions, all in one place. You can also email your users. So if we wanted to select everyone and then click email, it'll actually bring us into the same screen as the email builder does, or the email composer, I should say. And you can email people right from here. And you also have the stats section, which gives you a nice overview of people who have responded what to each question, and gives you some statistics, breaks things down for you. So how many people responded to each thing, especially if you have multiple choice. This is really helpful, kind of just at a bird's eye view to see what people are responding to your questions. And then you have these open-ended question responses here that you can sift through and assess to improve, especially if this is a feedback form, to improve the events you're doing, or in our case, the trainings we're hosting. So there's a lot of different opportunities there. And then you can also add different answer tags to people. So you can edit answer tags individually, but you can also assign them in bulk to people. So if we wanted to assign the first 20 people here an answer tag, we could click add answer tag. And these tags corresponded to a previous approval process we had for spaces on campus. So that's why we have the Anderson Center as an option, the Union as an option. So that's where those come into play. But similar to how you can bulk assign member tags and you can also individually assign them, it functions the same way. So if you have an approval process here set up and BeEngaged, you'll be able to see if things are approved or denied, but you can go further and organize things based on tags. So you could even have tags for who approved certain things. Maybe you have a team of people approving things, that events that happen in your group, or you have another process that you utilize surveys and forms for. Maybe you require a follow-up after every submission. You could create tags that allow you to designate, okay, this one's we followed up with this person, haven't followed up with them yet. You can create those tags and then assign them in bulk or remove them. You can create tags individually here. So just by clicking create new tag. So if we say requires follow-up using our example, then that will be assigned to this person, and we can, to the first 20 people, we can select them, head over to our three little dots, click add answer tag, and choose requires follow-up, and then click submit. And that will assign that to every person that we've chosen, those first 20 people. But we can also remove answer tag by doing the same steps. And you also have some filters up here you can utilize to differentiate between the submitted forms and any archived forms, which you can do one at a time, which we talked about. You can archive with this button. You can archive in bulk as well. You can choose dates, start and end dates for when you want to assess your different responses, and you can filter by those answer tags as well that we just talked about. And with that, that's the last thing we wanted to run through today with you. So thank you for watching this video. If you have questions or if you need help getting started in BeEngaged, feel free to email us at beengaged@binghamton.edu. And for any of the features that you need a refresher on, or maybe there were some gaps in the things we were able to cover today and you want to focus more on other things we mentioned briefly, definitely check out our training hub on YouTube. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.